Okay, we are recording. This is Mary Myers here for our live call. Woohoo! Today is December 16th, 2016. And here's our agenda for today. We're going to be talking to Steve Scott, also known as Steve and Randy Scott. If you're online, that's his Facebook name is, who is the contest winner. He's won a ton of contests, and he's also been using Law of Attraction to create a ton of amazing things in his life. So we're going to hear a lot about that from Steve. We have talked with him before, so there's another recording if you'd like to go see that. It was really wonderful and inspiring, and so we're going to sort of catch up with what's happened since then. And then I will be talking a little bit about why affirmations don't seem to work, and I'll give you 3 power tools to turn that around. So that's the agenda for today, and let's see. Yep, I think that's it. We have a few of our friends on the call. Yay, hello friends. So I'll probably go ahead and mute you guys for now, but you can unmute yourself at any time, and we'll be doing lots of sharing, but that way if, a siren goes by in the background or you decide you want to make a cup of coffee or whatever, it won't bother us. Cool. Okay, so great. Let me bring here in Steve Scott. So here's Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great.
So we didn't actually talk this time ahead of time to find out what we're going to talk about, but maybe you want to just catch us up a little bit or tell us what's new in your world. I do remember there were a couple things we talked about we could talk about in the future a few weeks ago, so catch us up.
Well, I guess the most interesting, what I've been using Law of Attraction for mainly in the past year is winning contests. But the most exciting thing in my life right now is the kidney stones. Remember me posting that?
Totally.
We really have to talk about that, Mary, because...
Yeah. I'm so glad you're sharing that. It's really, really important. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, like a month ago, I was on my way home from work and I was at the gas station. I basically fell over in pain. I don't know if you guys ever had kidney stones or not, but it was the worst pain in my life. And I went to the ER. I was there for 5 hours. I had no idea what was going on. And here they found a 5-millimeter kidney stone. So, I was there for 5 hours and they had to do an ultrasound and everything, all kinds of blood work and everything. And they gave me painkillers and said, basically, go home, take these pain medications, and then basically you just have to flush them out. Drink lots of water. And for guys, they said it's like pregnancy. It's like having a baby, pains, which scared the heck out of me, by the way. So this was Friday.
This was right.
Yeah. My wife did seem extremely happy when the doctor was telling me. It's awesome. Like, yes, he knows what I'm going to go through, or what she went through. So, I got home Friday and I'm basically laying in bed most of the weekend because, when you take, I was on 3 different pain medications. When you're taking pain medications, you get lightheaded, dizzy. There's a lot of side effects. I was not very happy. I'm usually a happy person, positive. I was very negative, and I'm sure we can all relate to this when you have health issues or, you get very down. And Sunday night, I was still in a lot of pain, and I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And Sunday night, I went to bed, and I was thinking a Law of Attraction. I was like, you know what, I got to turn this stuff around. So what I did was I started visualizing the kidney stone just disappearing from my body. I imagined it going up through my skin, just kind of like spirit energy, and just going away. Monday, I woke up pain-free. No pain at all. Didn't have to take any pain pills. It was really strange. So I just thought, okay, maybe it moved around and it's not in an area that it's causing me pain. All day Monday, I'm drinking lots of water. And again, I'm also drinking lemon water, and I started taking apple cider vinegar, which they said online that has a lot of health side effects. So the end of the week, I'm still not in any pain. I'm still drinking tons of water. So I'm like, okay, maybe it just somehow passed or something. I had no idea what's going on. Everybody keeps asking me, my friends, my family, hey, did you pass it? How was it? I'm like, I have no idea what happened. Like, it just, and I didn't want to explain to them that I was visualizing it going away because, you know, they already think sometimes I'm too crazy with the law of attraction and stuff. So the following week, my kids were sick with like the flu symptoms. They were coughing and sneezing, and it's going around the country right now. So I started getting a sore throat and a bad cough. So I went to one of the walk-in clinics to get it checked out because I thought maybe I had to get a prescription or something. And I asked the doctor, I said, hey, I was here 2 weeks ago for kidney stones, and I don't know what happened, but I never passed them. So she verified with me that I did not have any kidney stones anymore. And 5 millimeter, you only have a 20% chance of even passing it. It's online. You can Google it if you want to double check the facts. And they said, well, maybe it broke down enough that I didn't see it, but it just seems really strange to me. Like the night before that I was visualizing, and I visualized it for probably a good hour or so. You know, when you're in that much pain.
You know, I want to say I remember this because you wrote to me and we were talking about it, and I would like to jump in because the version of the story I lived through with you is a little different, only because you don't hide your law of attraction stuff from me. And what you actually said to me was, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then the next season, I did it, it worked. And so,
yeah,
even though you're telling the story, it's like the sort of like universal point of view of the doctors and everyone else, the story you and I were living together was actually like, this worked. There was a great deal of confidence. At least that's how I'm remembering it.
Yeah, and when I was visualizing it, you know, after about an hour or so, I believed it. I knew it would work.
Yeah,
it's just like
exactly.
when I enter a contest. So it builds up your confidence, and then you visualize it so much that you know it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's great. And I kind of wanted to interrupt because it's funny. There's the version of the story, which is sort of like the normal human person story where you sort of have to justify and explain and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then there's the version of the story that I think those of us who are practicing law of attraction actually live. And since I had lived it with you and we talked about it at the time, I kind of wanted to sort of tune into that version of it because I think that there's so much power in really just claiming it. And of course, this is the perfect venue for that.
Right. And I got to tell you, yeah, out of all the contests and everything I won, this was probably the biggest achievement.
Yeah.
Pain-wise.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I went online, went on YouTube, and I was looking up kidney stones and people having kidney stones, and I saw so many people were in pain and the size that they were, 5 millimeters, a huge kidney stone to, flush out, so to speak. But I still can't believe it worked. Like, I get excited.
Yeah, totally. And, let me catch it, though, because Abraham's really good about catching this stuff, too. Like, you say, I can't believe it worked, but that's almost just a figure of speech. Like, I think you know it worked, and I think you do believe it worked, and there's a figure, so I can't believe this worked, but there's another part of that knowing, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about that knowing, because you said you visualized and then you knew.
Whoop, you cut out. I visualized it over and over and over again until I believed it. But it's like one of those things where there's still a very small percentage of you, a small percent in your mind, that when it happens, then it hits you. You're like, oh, okay, that did work. So it's not that I didn't believe it would happen. It's just, sometimes it still kind of shocks me a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
It's maybe a shock, not really, I can't believe it worked.
Right. Well,
it's more of like, wow, surprise.
Right. This brings me to something that I've been thinking about with terms of you and in terms of me too. And I posted a little bit about this. When we really want to implement law of attraction in the big things in our lives, it really pays to practice on smaller things. And one of the things I posted maybe 6 months or a year ago or something was this thing I recorded where I was talking about how I was using parking in New York City as a practice and the reasons it was a really, really, really good practice thing to do. And the reasons were it was repetitive. I could do it a lot. The stakes were high-ish, but not very high. So there wasn't really fear associated with it. So I could really play with trust. I could play with statements of allowing. I could play with, creative ideas. And I wouldn't have to be like, really have a strong agenda. And then once you've practiced in a simple arena, then you can translate it. So for me, the kitties are always wanting attention. For me, I took it from the parking and I actually started to notice how law of attraction was handling my schedule. And then when I started seeing the incredible miracles in my schedule, so first in the parking and then in the schedule, and bear in mind, there's a lot of big stuff happening in my life too, but this was the day-to-day focus practice. Then I started translating it over to the harder thing, which was money. But because I was able to do it in these easy way first, it's like I've been taking the skills I learned and translating them over. And that's what I'm kind of hearing you saying when you practice so much on these contests. And then when it came to being in the hospital in pain, you were able to translate what you knew.
Yeah, I do it for a lot of small stuff. I mean, I'm kind of like you, Mary. Like, I do it multiple times a day for really small stuff. And even if I don't receive it, if you're in the parking lot and you don't get that perfect parking spot, it's really no big loss. You know what I mean? You just have to walk another 30 feet. I mean, it's kind of strange because the one day, last week, I was on my way to work and I was just craving coffee. It was Monday morning and I didn't have time to stop by. So I'm driving to work, and I was visualizing somebody giving me a cup of Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I get to class, and one of my students said, "Hey, I went to Dunkin' Donuts. They made a mistake, and they accidentally gave me 2 of them." So, like, little things like that happen all the time, and it's just, it's really hard to explain to somebody because it just kind of lines itself up. But the little stuff doesn't happen all the time. And again, I don't know why, but it seems like it happens enough that you can benefit from it. Even if it happens 60% of the time or 80% of the time, who cares? That's still 60 or 80% of the time that you're manifesting what you want.
Totally. And look, this is one of the things I'd also like to catch in what you said. When you were just talking, you were saying that you visualized for a while, and then there came a moment when you knew. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what you said a few minutes ago. And I want to talk a little bit about that knowing. I, too, have had that. One of the most dramatic examples of that in my life was I got a postcard in the mail that had a competition to win a trip to Amsterdam. And as I read it, I had the thought, oh, my God, if I enter this, I'll win. And I knew it. I just knew completely in that moment. And so I filled out the postcard, and then I got a friend of mine who we were both film TV editors, you had to be a TV editor, blah, blah. I had to jump through a few hoops. I got a friend of mine to do it too. And I said, if you win, I'll take you. If I win, you'll take me, or the other way around. And put it aside. And then 3-4 months passed. And then they called me and said, I won. I never, ever, ever in that process doubted I was going to win, whether it came through her or through me. And then the lovely thing is I won and she couldn't go. So I took my best friend. It was really beautiful. And so I went to Amsterdam and had a great time on their dime. And and there have been a lot of things in my life, but that little knowing happens often. There's this sort of moment of like, it's almost like a click into place. And I really think that's kind of alignment. That's kind of that feeling of getting in alignment. So what do you think?
I would have to agree with you, Mary, because I was looking back at some of the really big contests I've won and even like some of the stuff I received in my life this year. Everything, even my job, everything I received, I knew I would get. Even like my last job when I applied for it, before I even had the interview, I knew that job was lined up for me. I just 100% knew. I mean, I would have bet my life against it. That's how, or my kids. That's how I knew that it was lined up. So I think a lot of it with law of attraction is if you 100% know that it's not lined up for you, then I think sometimes it may not happen the way you think it's gonna. I think you have to have that 100% confidence, because I've entered contests and didn't win, and I'll second guess myself. I'll be like, well, why didn't I win? I should have won that. I visualized it. But then I'll think back, you know what? I kind of had a little bit of a doubt that I did not have the 100% confidence that I would win. And I think that's what you need when you're looking for a parking spot or, you're trying to focus on something. You need 100% confidence.
Yeah, I agree. And, that really makes me want to emphasize the practice thing. So let me just catch up a little bit on the thing with the parking. For me, I was driving to New York City, 3 days a week. It was about a 2-hour drive, 2.5. Of course, it was rush hour. There was potential traffic, and we have snow up here. So then there were snow days, and then there were accident days, and there were whatever. And there were many factors that could come into play. And if I didn't get there in a certain 20-minute window, then the parking was gone for the day. And so then I would have to go pay for parking, which was a total of like $42. So it's a lot to pay for parking for one day. So the reason I'm mentioning all this is these were the circumstances that made it a great practice arena. It was repetitive. I had a pretty high degree of desire to make it happen because I did not want to pay that $42 of parking every day. But it also wasn't a huge deal. Like if I had to, I had to. And so what I did was I practiced. My mantra for that particular exercise was as soon as like I got stuck in traffic or there was, you know, something slowed me down, or one time I even got lost, whatever would happen, my brain would go, oh no, I'm going to be late. I also, just to put it in context, I'm a therapist. I'm never late. You know, I am in my seat looking all cool and calm and collected when they arrive. So there is no like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm 5 minutes late, because if I'm not there, they're standing out in the cold, right? So it was a pretty high agenda for being on time too. It's not like a casual thing, which was good. It amped it up just the right amount. So I would have something happen and my brain would habitually say, oh no, I'm going to be late. And then I would say to myself, Mary, with a kind of a look, the energy that creates worlds has no trouble dealing with this. Mm-hmm. And then my brain would go, okay, but what route do I take? And I'd say, Mary, remember, we're trusting the energy creates worlds. You'll figure it out. Yeah, but how do I figure it out? Just chill out. So over the months, I got better and better and better and better at just trusting. And one of the reasons I got better at trusting is because incredibly wild things happened that had me find a beautiful, perfect, how could it be their parking spot on time. And one time I even drove off the highway by mistake, or long story endless, I was on the phone, I don't know. Anyway, I did a detour, then I got lost getting back on the highway. Another time I left like an hour late. Impossible to be on time leaving an hour late. But I just kept saying, the energy that creates worlds has no problem with this. You know, time is nothing to source. And it happened over and over and over again. So my faith developed. Mm-hmm. There's a great definition of faith. It's the confidence born of observing the fruits of practice.
Right.
And so I really want to emphasize this because we can practice on anything. And I'm not saying I don't visualize really important things. I had a whole thing with my mom in a nursing home recently, and it all unfolded beautifully. I got some really good help from friends about how to get my head clear about it. So big things too, but the practice on the small things. And that's partly why I ended up having a group called Blisscipline rather than other things, the discipline of faith. So what do you think about that, Steve?
Yeah, I'd have to totally agree with you, because I mean, yeah, I have maybe 5 or 6 really big things that I received in 2016, but then I probably manifested hundreds of small stuff. I mean, even something really strange like taking a trip somewhere, and all of a sudden my wife and I both will have off the same day, and somehow we get discounted tickets, some kind of promotion that, originally she might have said that we couldn't afford, and all of a sudden they're having a discount day or a dollar day. Or like, if you're excited to do something and then something happens, you could still do it if you visualize it mentally. I also found, Mary, that, and I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but if I visualize something over and over again and I get excited and then I know it's going to happen, and then I get so excited sometimes that it doesn't matter if it doesn't come to me, because in my mind it already came to me.
Yeah.
At that point,
totally. Absolutely.
I already feel like it happened, so it doesn't matter if it happens or not.
Yeah. And this brings us to a point that Abraham makes over and over and over again, that we want it for the feeling we're going to have. And if you can create that feeling ahead of time, as long as you honestly, genuinely don't care. But other times, it manifests in this delicious way that you're really delighted because you can see your own part in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, like it's almost like a fantasy almost.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting when you reach that point, when you visualize so much that you get excited, and then you reach the point where you already think it happened in your mind, and it will.
Right.
Even if it doesn't, for whatever reason, maybe the universe has another plan. In your mind, it doesn't matter because it already happened. It's already exciting.
Yeah. And I do want to say that sometimes it's clear to me that what I think I want ends up not being the best plan for me in the long run. And that it's clear to me that my connection with my inner guidance, with source, with the bigger part of me,
Uh-huh.
knows more than I do what I want. And there are times I'm like, oh, thank God that didn't work out that way and it went this other way. So there's a willingness, there's a faith in that for me, that there is actually more wisdom than Mary wants a Lamborghini kind of stuff. Not that I've ever really thought about a Lamborghini, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do feel that way too. Sometimes things don't 100% work out the way you think they are mentally, but then down the road you realize, you know what? I'm glad I didn't go to. I'm glad we didn't go to the concert or out to the movies because we ended up staying home and watching TV and we got Chinese and it was probably a better time. Maybe it started snowing or raining or something. You know, something happened that it would have been a lot worse off than what you were originally planned.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the clear ones for me about that was about 20 years ago or 15 years ago. I'm not really sure how long it was. I was sort of in limbo in my life and I was trying to find a new path. And there's a long story behind this. I won't go all into it, but the sort of big point moment in the story was that I got this call from ABC News Productions offering me a job that I never applied for and I wasn't qualified for it. There wasn't any reason they should have called me. And again, long story, blah, blah, blah. I ended up getting the job, making a ton of money, and it launched a new career. Now, the interesting thing about that is I never wanted that career. But what that career allowed me to do was to have the money and the time free, because it was a project-based career that paid really well. I was a television and film editor. That when the moment came that I could go to Plum Village, which is a place I wanted to go, I was literally sitting at home one night and went, wait, I can go. I have the time and money. And I just went, and I can see that as a profound turning point in my life. And not only that, I didn't even realize this until recently. Leading up to that moment, I had been talking about and exploring and thinking of writing a book about the way different spiritual paths converge. It's just so fascinating to me. If you look at Christian contemplatives and Sufi contemplatives and Buddhist contemplatives and anyone who's not following a dogma but looking. And if you look at Abraham and you look at Wayne Dyer and you look at anyone who's following a path of integrity of looking, you find all these convergences. And it had been very important to me to really begin to study that. Even science, the same thing. And so anyway, when I got to Plum Village, which is where Thich Nhat Hanh has a monastery, he's a Buddhist monk, for those who don't know it. When I got there, I happened to arrive on the day that they were beginning an interfaith monastic retreat. And I got to spend time with Catholic monks, Catholic nuns, Sufi priests, Buddhists of all kinds of different stripes. I got to spend time with all these contemplatives. I was the only layperson who showed up for that retreat because it wasn't for lay people. I just happened to show up. And they've never offered that retreat since. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I can literally track back from that moment when ABC News Productions called me and offered me that job and other things that led up to it, to this moment of arriving at the perfect moment at Plum Village without even knowing that's what was happening there. And that's the kind of thing that we can't predict, but that our source really, really knows. Much more important to me than a lot of things I thought were important, like, say, making money in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I already talked about becoming a teacher like a year ago. So a year ago, when I decided to become a teacher, I had no teaching experience whatsoever. I did EHR, electronic health record support, and our contract was coming to an end. I was worked for the company for 3 years, and I was just starting to research law of attraction. And my first vision board, I had decided that I really wanted to be a college instructor, but I had no experience. And I started sending my resume. And again, colleges can be very selective. Usually they want experience, they want a degree. You know, I never even tutored anybody. So I was already against a lot of other competition. And I created a vision board, and it showed images of desks, of students, of a teacher teaching a computer lab. And within a month or so, a college that I applied at contacted me, and they were hiring for a part-time teacher. So I went to the interview. Now I had some doubts. I was like, oh, I can't just work part-time. But I went to the interview. They basically hired me on the spot, which kind of shocked me. I was in shock. I was like, oh my God, can I even do this? Can I speak in front of like 30 students? Then I was when I got home that day, I told my wife, I said, guess what? I said, you're married to a new college instructor. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, I got the job. She was in such shock. She's like, why would they hire you? She was very negative, by the way, but some people can be like that because it was a shock, and you know how that goes. But they could only offer me two classes, which it would have not been enough income for me to support my family, what I need to make. So I went online and found out that they had another campus within like a 45-minute or so drive. So the next day I went to that campus and I said, hey, your other campus just hired me part-time. Can you hire me part-time too? Here's my availability. They hired me within 10 minutes of walking in there. Now here's me, no experience, and I just got hired at 2 different campuses. Like, I was still in shock. Then I got home, looked at my email, and an online college was looking for part-time help as well. So with no experience, I got hired at 3 different colleges, which really blew my mind, by the way.
Totally. And, let me just catch everybody up, and you might want to listen to the other interview with Steve where he tells the whole story of how he came to law of attraction and what he did. But from never having really heard of it, he heard about it and thought, I'll start trying this. And he started practicing it. He started implementing it. And in the course of that, changed his career, changed the town he lived in, moved to the dream town he had, started winning all these competitions. And this is all within the last year and a half. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, the last year. Yep.
The last year. So only in the last year. And one of the reasons I love talking to you is a lot of people have done sort of like they've known about law of attraction, they've read a bunch of stuff, but they haven't really put it into practice. And what I love about talking to you is you aren't actually up on the theory that much. We've talked about it sometimes. There's like, you haven't listened to that much Abraham or whatever, but you practice it absolutely consistently. And
yeah, that's a good point, Mary. You don't have to know everything about law of attraction to use it in your life. You don't have to have, you don't have to go out and buy 30 different books to understand maybe even the science or the spiritual. You just have to trust that it works.
Yeah.
And just put it into practice.
Yeah. And would you just tell us a little bit about your vision boarding practice? Because you do it in such a simple, easy way. If you would just walk us through it and the steps you take, that would be really great.
Like creating the vision board, is that what you mean? Or
yeah.
Oh, okay.
The creating and the printing and the looking and the just how you do it.
So what a lot of websites was saying was go get a bunch of magazines, cut out images, and I thought to myself, this is too much. I can't go out and spend $20 on magazines. Are like $6-7 nowadays, and you can't go to the library and start cutting out magazines. They'll probably look at you kind of funny. So what I realized is with technology, we can just open up a blank Word document like Microsoft Word, and then just go on the internet. Whatever you want to visualize, like when I wanted to become an instructor, I would type in images of a teacher or images of a computer lab, whatever I'm trying to focus on. And then I would just save the images in my computer or copy and paste them into the Word document, print it out. I could create a vision board in probably 5 minutes. But what I love about this way is it's fast, it's almost free, except for your ink, I guess. And you can change them as many times as you want. I mean,
yeah. And what do you
have at least 7 vision boards right now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What do you do with them after you print them out?
So when I create my vision board or a dream board is basically helps me visualize something that I'm focusing on. So I might visualize it. It could be maybe for a week, a couple minutes, a couple times a day, or if it's something that I really, really want, like when I really want to become a teacher, I probably visualized it. I looked at it, and when I was looking at it, I was visualizing in my mind that I was the person teaching in the computer lab. So vision boards help me visualize. Like I said, it's more of like a dream board. You don't technically need them because now I'm at the point where I don't even use them that much. A lot of times I can just visualize something in my mind. But for beginners and it basically helps me stay focused on what I'm visualizing, what I'm really want out of the law of attraction, whatever I'm manifesting.
Yeah, great. And so you've told me before, so you would put it in a ring binder, and then you would have all these pages you'd print out in the ring binder, and
Hmm.
then you would sit and you would look at the thing you wanted to visualize, and then, as I'm recalling, you kind of tell stories about it. Like you told some funny story about moon pies or something at some point to me, that you're looking at the thing, but you're letting your mind sort of roam around and telling a funny story about how this might unfold, something like that.
Yeah, so when I'm visualizing something, I try to be as detailed as possible. And if you think about it, when you see something funny happening or something exciting, you don't usually remember it or tell somebody about it. So when I'm visualizing something, I try to be as detailed as possible. And a lot of times I'll try to make it a little bit funny. And it's easier for me to kind of get into that mode. So I entered a contest one time and it was for um, whatchamacallit, whoopie
Whoopie pies, right?
pies. It's like the cake with the cream. And I was visualizing, I entered the contest. I was visualizing that, they contacted me through email saying, hey, we need your address, you won. Um, and what happened was, in my mind, I received a package in front of my door. I opened it. I'm giving them all to my kids. And I was very detailed, opening up the whoopie pies, licking the icing. Like, I think I also was visualizing one of my kids asking me for another one. And then one of my kids dropped his on the floor, and I said, no problem, I'll get you another one out of the box. I tried to be, when I visualize something, I try to be as detailed as possible. And like I said, then it makes you, like you're not just staring at images now. You're kind of creating almost like a movie in your mind. So the vision board is just to kind of like target, like where you, like a starting point of what you want to visualize, but then I expand from there with my mind. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, I won that contest, by the way. But, what I visualized didn't happen. My son didn't drop his on the floor, but it was kind of cool because in my mind, I was visualizing the UPS guy dropping off the package in front of the door. And when they mailed it to me, it was in the same spot that was in my mind. It was the same box. Stuff like that sometimes lines up, but not everything. Like I said, sometimes you go off board with your mind a little bit, but it doesn't make a difference. I still want them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And one of the things that I want to just acknowledge is that sorry, this cat is relentless. So I just want to acknowledge is that what happens when you're telling these stories in your mind, your kid dropping it on the floor, and you say, no problem, have another. There's a lot of feeling being generated. And it's like when we go to a movie, right? And we know perfectly well that they're actors. This isn't real. It's not happening. None of this is true. In fact, it's not even in the room. It's white projected through celluloid or probably digitally or whatever how they do it now. So we know this, but there's a suspension of belief, of disbelief, where we actually just settle into it, and the events of the movie feel really real to us, and we cry and we're frightened and everything else. We're engaging our natural imagination, and this is like that too. And it's very interesting because the universe can't tell, and I'm going to say also your nervous system can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. And so what's brilliant about your technique is you engage the whole imaginary scenario and get in line with it.
Yeah, and also a lot of my stuff that I visualize my family being close to me, because when I'm with my family, I feel like loved. So if you have like kids or grandkids or friends that when they're around, they just kind of put you in a happy place.
Right.
Put them in when you're visualizing. Why not?
Right.
If you're trying to get a new car, and you're always maybe spend a lot of time with your mom or sister, in your mind, act like you're driving with your sister, out to dinner, or you're in the vehicle, or you're at the restaurant that you're trying to win the contest for the gift card. I always try to put, when I was visualizing getting the teaching job, at the end of the day, after teaching in my mind, I would go home all dressed up in my suit, and I would visualize telling my wife, oh, the day went great. This is what we went over. The kids, I was helping my kids with their homework. I always tried to put people that I love or that I get kind of like, emotional from, I guess, in my mind as well. It's not just me trying to, because it's almost like you feel like then you're not even being selfish. And I also feel like you're more thankful. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. And Abraham is very clear about this too. There's alignment, there's a feeling of well-being, there's a feeling of being in the flow, love flowing. I mean, it's perfect, Steve. And, I really want to point out too, that again, like my little thing is whether it's your route or Abe's route or Wayne Dyer or Christian contemplatives or science, truth is truth is truth is truth is truth. You're going to find your way to the truth on whatever route. And you personally have found your way in this incredibly skillful process by feeling your way forward, feeling what feels good. Does that feel accurate?
Yeah. That's why, like I said, a lot when I visualize, it's usually my kids, my wife, even if they're not in that vision completely, they're still somewhere in it.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was visualizing the teaching job, they were in it for a couple seconds. It's kind of like if I was creating a movie and I didn't care how much it made or who was in it. What do you want the people, your friends and family in that movie? Because who knows if you'd have another chance at creating a movie.
Yeah. I really, really appreciate this. I appreciate how much is clearly motivated by love, and love is kind of the flow of source energy. So it's great. The more I talk to you, Steve, the more I enjoy this. And I'd love to open up. We have a couple of people here in case you have questions or thoughts about this. In fact, I'll go ahead and unmute you guys. And if you would like to jump in with a question, please do, or even a comment, because I know we have some experienced practitioners here too. So yeah, Ramona, what would you like to say? Would you like to be on camera, by the way?
There we go.
All right.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, if you have to have absolutely no doubt in order for this whole thing to be effective, then how do you have absolutely no doubt when, like, for example, when Steve's talking about winning all the contests, he might win only 60 or 80% of them, which is a great track record and a great ratio, but it's not 100%. So how do you get 100% no doubt or 100% belief if it's not 100% manifesting?
Cool.
Great question. Steve, do you want to just tell us what comes up for you?
So a lot of times I'll enter a contest and I still have doubts. Sometimes I still have doubts. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect, but even if I win 60% of the time, I'm okay with that. Also, sometimes if I enter something, like the other day I entered a $25 gift card for Olive Garden. I only visualized it for like a minute or two, and I don't know if I had 100% belief after 2 minutes that I would win. Now, I did win free Taco Bell. I don't know if you saw my Facebook post, Mary, but I won. My local Taco Bell was giving away free lunch. Well, I entered that. I visualized it for about 2 or 3 minutes, and I was visualizing it. I've eaten at that Taco Bell before, so when I was visualizing, I visualized them contacting me, telling me, hey, you're the free lunch winner. I was sitting at the table that I usually sit at. I was eating it. When I was visualizing it, I actually tasted the food. It's kind of like, you ever think of like Thanksgiving and you visualize the turkey and the mashed potatoes and stuff, and you kind of get excited. It's kind of like that. So sometimes when I enter a contest, either the universe may have something else planned, right, Mary? Because we don't 100%, or maybe I was not 100% on board thinking that I'm going to win.
Yeah, and it occurs to me, I think this is like if I was a really skilled ball player, right? And I don't know anything about sports, so I'll get this kind of wrong, but let's say I'm a really great basketball player. I'm never going to expect to get 100% of the baskets I shoot, because that's just not how it works. Like maybe if I was standing on the in a certain spot and just shooting, I could get 100% or close to it. But in the game itself, I'm not going to get 100% because that's not how the game works. But I'm going to be better than I've ever been before. And I'm always working on getting better. And there's the joy of the game. And I think one of the things, in fact, Ramon and I've talked about this before, this idea that if I'm a really good basketball player, I don't want to play against someone I can always beat. Like, that's not fun. And I think with law of attraction too, there's a sense of, the wonderfulness of the challenge of how can I, these cats are hilarious. How can I get in line with this thing? Like, how can I, if I'm noticing I have some disbelief about this, how can I get my belief around? Like, let me try a Vortex. Like, let me try a vision board. Let me try a Vortex focus wheel. Let me try. And I think what we want to make sure is we don't make ourselves wrong when it doesn't happen, just as a ball player doesn't make themselves wrong when they don't get the hoop, but instead just say, all right, maybe there's something to learn here, maybe let me try again. So I don't know, I think there's something in there that we can recognize, that there's a delight in the process. And like, what is 60% great? Yes. Is 80% great? Is 20% better? Great. Yes, it's great. But it's only great if you're enjoying it. It's not great if you're saying, well, it's not 100%. And what that brings us back to is the whole point is the happiness. That's the whole point. It's not the whoopie pies or the Olive Garden or the trip to, I forget where you went, but I know you went to some fancy island, and it's not even the job, it's the joy and it's the love. So I don't know.
I'm up to 47 contests, you know what I mean? So I mean, maybe I entered over 100 contests throughout the year, but does it really matter? Like, can you imagine winning 47 contests, almost one a week? Would you care if you might have entered 3 every week and you won one of them? Like, I wouldn't care. Actually, there's a guy a couple years ago, and he might have passed away. It said that he won the lottery 8 times, and he won like tens of millions of dollars. And he didn't say he did law of attraction, but he said he would visualize it. You know, he did a lot of the same principles. I guess you could say that he was in the law of attraction without him knowing the term.
Yeah.
And he said to him, you know, do you win the lottery every time you play? And he's like, God, no, I probably played at least 500 to 1,000 times. He's like, but you know what? I have 60 million in the bank. I don't care how many times I lose. I win enough that I'm good. I'm good with that record.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I said, I don't want to, you know, misinform anybody. Like, I don't get everything, but I get enough. You know, I'm not a greedy person.
Yeah. Greedy. So Ramona, we were going to say something.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, does somebody like that who's winning millions of dollars work up to it? You know, do they start with, in other words, like Steve, is that in your aspiration to start winning millions of dollars, or you just love the playing of the you know, the free meal or the free vacation? In other words, is there a quality difference? You know, Abraham says it's as easy to make a button as it is a castle, or however they say. So is there a quality or a flavor or a vibrational difference in your mind, depending on how big the prize is, I guess is my question.
The biggest prize I've won so far is probably the 2 vacation trips. I mean, I've won gift cards, money. I'm trying to think of probably the 2 free vacations, and this is all in this year. It wasn't like over the last 10 years. When it comes to the lottery, for example, when I buy a lottery ticket, I still have doubts. But when I enter a contest, I know I'll win. So that's something that I have to work on. So I don't want to say I've mastered. I would say I'm pretty close to I've mastered law of attraction with winning contests, but I have not mastered winning the lottery. Now, I've bought tickets before, where actually it was a couple weeks ago, and every number on my ticket I won something, which was kind of shocked me still. And I visualized it for about 5 or 6 minutes. I did the same principles that I do for contests. But sometimes when I go out and buy a Powerball ticket, part of me still thinks I'm not going to win. And it's just like when you enter a contest, you might say, I want to win, but I don't know if I will win. So I still second guess myself because I have not mastered law of attraction with lottery. If I did, I probably wouldn't even have to work at this point.
Right. It's so great. And, you know, I want to just note that there are people who just do things there are a million ways to do it. But what Steve is a great example of is just moving forward. And he and I've actually talked a little bit about the lottery in terms of, you know, how to focus on it and a new focus on it. And again, for me, just if you haven't walked the walk, but it's probably hard to understand. But the magic of all those moments when a weird parking spot happened, you know, like the best story is once I was it's a very long story. I'm not going to tell the whole thing, but I was on a road and a truck blocked me in the front, and the truck blocked me in behind me, and I couldn't move. And I was like, all right. And then like 2 minutes later, a woman came and got in her car and pulled out, and I got the perfect parking spot. And a bunch of things like that happened. Like, I wouldn't have gotten that spot if those two trucks hadn't blocked me in. So I couldn't go back and I couldn't go forward. And, you know, how many times has it happened in your life? And all those things accumulated have led to more and more and more and more confidence. And again, I'm really enjoying this definition of faith. The confidence born of observing the fruits of practice.
Yeah, I was going to say too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it would be great to win like $10 million. But when you receive so much, like when you win a contest every week or you have your dream job, like honestly, I love my job. I go to work every day and I get excited. I love where we live. I love our place. Like, I'm not saying I have everything, you know. There's some stuff that I haven't received yet. Like, I've been trying to visualize winning a Jeep and a new house and everything. But every day I wake up and I feel so blessed.
Yeah.
So when you reach that point, it doesn't matter what you have, really.
Right.
Because you're totally in happiness every day of your life. Like, honestly, if I don't receive any more, if I don't win any other contest, I never get any other job, I would be perfectly content where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because I just feel so blessed. I'm sure, Mary, you feel the same way. Like, I'm very positive. I'm very thankful. Every day I wake up and I basically thank the universe in the morning and at night for everything I have. Like, I feel so thankful and positive. For even when I walk into college, it's kind of funny because sometimes I'll have like a coffee in my hand and I'll actually raise up my coffee at the logo of the college and just thank the universe as I walk in. People probably think I'm crazy, but
well, we think you're crazy.
when you feel that blessed with what you have, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, I honestly don't need $100 million or whatever. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice because you can help a lot of people out. But like I said, even if you get 60% of what you're visualizing, wouldn't you be totally in happiness with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, let me catch something here because I think we're touching on something so powerful that, you know, your happiness is so palpable, Steve, and your enjoyment is so palpable. And it was funny. I saw a video where Jim Carrey was said, I wish everybody would just win the lottery and get it over with so they can see that's not where their happiness lies.
Yeah.
This is a man who's made millions of dollars, you know, and he's made millions of dollars doing what he loved as an actor and using law of attraction. Like he's very outspoken about law of attraction. And I remember when someone posted that little video or quote, I don't know, and then all these people commented on the Facebook group underneath like, yeah, easy for him to say, or something like that. But what I want to note is that what you're describing, your happiness in this job, your happiness in your house, your happiness in moving to Hershey, Pennsylvania, you actually couldn't have had any of those if you just won the lottery, in the sense that you probably wouldn't have jumped through all the hoops to become a college professor if you had $60 million in the bank. And you probably wouldn't have gotten this sweet little place in Hershey and felt yourself that delight of being there when you could afford a mansion in whatever. And I guess what I'm saying is this is what I mean sometimes about my inner being knowing better than I do. What will make me happy? And what the easy
I totally agree.
happiness is.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think you can put a price on happiness. I mean, and I gotta tell you, like, I feel so blessed every day. Like, it doesn't matter to me if I don't win every contest or get everything I visualize. But I do get a lot, so I'm perfectly content with what I've received so far.
Yeah, that's great. Well, great. So, anything else you want to add before we wrap up this portion of the program here, Steve?
I wasn't expecting that question. I guess my biggest point is not to listen to others. And a lot of times when I create a vision board or I'm visualizing something I want, a lot of times I don't tell anybody because they can be very negative. They'll be like, you're not going to win that, or you're not going to get a Jeep, or you're not going to move. You're not going to get that job. Like I said, sometimes my wife, I hate to say this, but sometimes my wife or my brother can be very negative. I think some people, they have to see it before they believe it. And with law of attraction, you have to believe it. And then if you can see it in your mind, you can see it in your hands.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is don't let anybody talk you out of something and just focus on what you're visualizing. And, you know, you can always start with something small, like a parking spot. Or even the first contest I won this year was a $20 gift card. It seems so small, like what's 20 bucks? But I got so excited and happy. And then the following week, I think I won like a $50 gift card. And then the third week, I forget what it was. It was like, it was something strange that I would probably never, it was like a hat and a shirt or something. It was just some kind of giveaway. So my fourth week into this year, I told my wife and kids and everybody that I knew, I said, oh my God, law of attraction works for contests. I'm going to write a book about it. And again, I had doubters. They said, well, you can't write a book. What do you know about writing a book? And even so my brother said, you won 4 contests. That does not make you a contest expert or a law of attraction expert. And I said, you don't understand. I won the 4 contests that I was visualizing of winning. I know it works.
Right.
So my big thing is sometimes it's better not to share with everyone what you're trying to visualize. It's not that it's not going to work. It's just if they talk negatively about something you're focusing on, it may decrease. You might start getting doubts, and then that could decrease the chance of you actually getting it, because then you don't have the 100% confidence. Would you agree, Mary?
I would totally agree. Absolutely. And I also want to just note, Steve did write his book. It is available on Amazon. He has, and this is last year, you know, Steve is just a wonderful example of just implementing law of attraction. I'll post, there's the book. What is the title of it? Read it for us, Steve. Oh, hold on. You guys can't see. I haven't clicked over there.
Oh, okay. How to use law of attraction to win contests. And it's on Amazon. But everybody had doubts. And like I said, I started writing it. I only won 4 contests when I started writing it, because, you know, it takes months. It does take months and editing and everything. And I was excited. There I was going to my teaching job every day. I was writing a book. I was entering contests. I was just so full of joy in life. And I said to everyone, if I sell 1 copy, I'm happy.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like, it's just so exciting. How many people can say they published a book? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's amazing. Hold it up for us to see one more time, Steve.
Oh.
So there we go. How to use law of attraction to win contests by Steve Scott. So I'll post a link to this underneath the video too, so that we have it. And thank you so much for sharing this with us, Steve. You're so fun. I love the fun that you bring to law of attraction. I love the whoopie pie story, and I just really appreciate knowing you.
All right. I'll see you guys next time.
I just wanted to say hi before you have to go, Steve. It's been fun being in the group with you, and it was really nice listening to you guys this morning. I feel just more connected with you both, and my battery's going. So if I disappear during the second half, I just wanted to say hey. And
okay, awesome.
Karen, Steve, it's awesome to hear from you.
Yeah, awesome.
That's Karen.
I gotta say too, Mary. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're still on.
Oh, I gotta say too, guys. With law of attraction, you don't have to know everything about law of attraction for it to work, and you don't have to be perfect. I'm not a perfect writer. Who would have thought I would be teaching and publishing a book and talking about law of attraction with you amazing people? With law of attraction, I believe you can do literally anything you want to.
Yeah.
You just have to focus your mind. And like I said, just if you can see it in your mind, you'll see it in your hands.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, Steve.
All right, see ya.
Okay. All right, great. So I'm just going to get on to the, hey, Patty says thank you. So I'm just going to get on to the second part here, because this flows so beautifully out of what we just talked about. Because in fact, I was wanting to do it the other way around, and then Steve had to go to lunch. And so now, of course, it's perfect it went this way, because this is how it goes. What Steve talked about is so in line with what I wanted to explain. The idea is this. We have all kinds of ideas about affirmations, like I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, and it's going to come true. And then sometimes it seems to work, and sometimes it doesn't seem to work. And what's the breakdown? And the distinction really is between desire and belief. That's the distinction. So when we want something and we tell an affirmation about having it, if we don't believe it, we're literally actually vibrating the belief of not having it, and therefore there's no way it's going to draw it to us. It's actually drawing to us the experience of not having it. I was going to say it's pushing it away, but it's not. It's attracting what we're feeling, which is the feeling of not having it. And so that's the challenge with affirmations, is that it's very easy for us to say something, but as Abraham puts it, the universe does not hear what you say. They hear what you're vibrating. They hear your vibration, and you know what you're vibrating by how you feel. So how you feel is the key in here. And of course, again, Steve just stumbled on this stuff. So he visualizes his family and he visualizes the people he loves, and he gets a good feeling going. So what I wanted to do was just offer 3 little tips for how to navigate this gap between desire and belief. So, and of course we heard him say, you know, when he buys a lottery ticket, he doesn't quite believe it yet. So there's a gap. And so part of what he's doing, just like a really good ball player does, is he's improving his game. And, you know, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we hear that he's won lots of money in the near future. So how to navigate this gap? And first of all, let me just be really clear. The ball player metaphor is such a good one because ball players tend to have a lot of joy in playing ball. It's why they started to do it. You see the kids out on the basketball court playing. They're having a great time. You give them, you know, a few hours free in a basketball, they just play and play and play. So there's this alignment with joy in it. And then there's this improvement through joy, but it isn't like, oh, I've got to get better or else I'll fail. Now, I'm not saying that never happens. Of course it does. But when the joy goes out of it, then you're no longer in alignment. You're no longer getting support from source. So how to navigate this gap between desire and belief? And there are 3 tools. Now there's a million tools, but I want to offer 3 tools. And the reason I thought these 3 tools were a good set is because they kind of support 3 different situations. I lost my little note card. That's okay. I know what they are. So the 3 tools that I wanted to mention are vision boards, which Steve does, or as in fact he said he's not really doing them anymore. He's practiced with them enough so that now he can visualize without them. You know, this is sort of like training wheels. Like he had the training wheels on the bike and he learned to get his balance and then he took them off because he's got his balance. So, you know, everything can evolve that way. So vision boards. And then the second thing is focus wheels, which is an Abraham process. And the third one is something I came up with, which I call the 3-point turn. Now, these 3 practices are useful for different people and different times. I, for one, have never found vision boards terribly helpful for myself. But I'm not really surprised because I'm not a very visual person. I'm a very word person, word-oriented person. I tell stories in my head. So vision boards aren't something that works terribly well for me, but you see they work great for Steve, and they may work for you. His technique of simply pulling images and sticking them on a piece of paper, and he showed me his vision boards. It's literally just 6 images with a little word a few words underneath each one. It's not like fancy with borders. It's simple. Suits him very, very well. And so he came up with something that suits him. And so if you do love the idea of sitting and cutting magazines and putting glue and stickers and God knows what, do it. If you're that kind of tactile crafts person, do it. You can do it the way Steve does it. You can do it that way, or you can not do it at all. I have had vision boards, and I did have one for buying our house, by the way. But once I made it, I didn't even finish it, and then I never looked at it again. It was on the wall, but I didn't look at it. I think nonetheless, the doing of it was probably beneficial. We did get this beautiful house. But the point is this. If you love it, do it. If you don't love it, don't do it. As Abraham says, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And here's why. If you're doing it to get the thing and you're not loving the process, you are in alignment with not getting the thing. You're vibrating need. You're vibrating like lack. You're vibrating struggle. You're vibrating failure. You're doing all these things. It's not going to work for you. It'll work for you if you enjoy it, if it evokes for you fun stories of a kid dropping the moon pie on the floor or the whoopie pie on the floor. So vision boards, I think we've covered sufficiently. Now, focus wheels are a whole different thing because focus wheels acknowledge a process. And focus wheels are really great. I'll put links to some instructions on how to do them because we're not going to have time to get into a lot of details here. But here's why a focus wheel is great. Esther uses a lot of focus wheels. Esther's very wordy. She writes, right? She loves to write. She's not particularly a vision board type person. So focus wheel, and you'll see Abraham, by the way, say, so do focus wheels every morning. Well, it works for Esther. It may not work for you, and if it doesn't, don't do them. But here's why they work. So you start out with a piece of paper, and I'll just draw it real quick so you get it. And in the middle of the paper, you put a circle. And then around the circle, you put a bigger circle. And some people actually, when they print it, they make another one here, but I don't use that one. You will see actually pictures with that. And then you divide it up into segments. It doesn't matter how many. But we'll just do 8 for now. And then what you do, and this is where the question of affirmations comes in. The affirmation that you want to put in the middle is that big one, like I am naturally abundant and money flows to me easily, whatever. If you aren't, by the way, already feeling naturally abundant and money flowing to you, then what that statement is very likely to do is generate a feeling of lack within you. So here we are right back where I was saying why affirmations don't work. But then this is the focus wheel part. So you stick it in there, right? And then out here, you find a statement that already feels true for you that's sort of in line with that. Okay, Karen says, battery going, much love, and so happy I tuned in. Talk soon. Bye, Karen. So glad you were here. So you put a statement that feels something like it, but that already feels true to you. One of the things that personally works for me, as you all know, is I have woods outside. I'm looking out my window at beautiful woods. I would turn my computer and show you, but it usually gets short circuits when I do that, so I'm not going to. I go out there every day, and here's one of the reasons why. I sit by this stream, and I watch the stream flow by. Water, 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 every day, water. Sometimes a lot of water, sometimes less. I am so deeply in contact with the abundance of the planet when I'm sitting by that water. It's hard to put into words, but it is viscerally so real. I feel so happy and abundant. And a lot of law of attraction folks are going to say, so is that going to make you win the lottery? Maybe. But what I want to offer is this. I feel great. And then carrying that feeling into my life leads me to be in alignment with abundance in whatever ways it can come. And of course, I've got tons of abundance in my life. I'm so lucky. And there's so much I have. And again, that isn't quite the point. We always kind of end up making that point because that's where people see the evidence. But the point is the happiness. So it's this wonderful cycle of the happiness in the feeling of abundance and then the flow of stuff that is abundance and the happiness. But if we are waiting for the flow of stuff to cause this happiness, it won't, because we are not aligning our desire and our belief. So the point of the focus wheel is it helps you sort of nudge your way forward. So I might write here something about, I love the stream that flows out back so much. I feel the abundance of life flowing. I might write something like that. Now I'm very touchy-feely. You might do some other thing like, I've seen 10 Lamborghinis in the last month. and it's like, if you want a Lamborghini, There's nothing wrong with it. It's just let yourself enjoy the wanting of it. In a recent video, some guy was saying about how he ended up with a Mercedes in the garage. He was like, I didn't even want it, but well, of course I wanted it. And then Abraham says this amazing thing to him. I'll post this. The video is called I Am Happy. You can look it up on YouTube. Abraham says this great thing to him. He says, you did want it. It's just you associate wanting with the discomfort of not having. Whereas you were actually just naturally enjoying the wanting of it. And of course it came to you. So that important distinction. So we'll talk more in the group. We'll post things about focus wheels and everything else to help you practice it. But the point being of soothing and easing your way toward the belief that you want. And one of the things that Esther does is she'll notice over the course of the day, oh my gosh, I have this belief. Like, I'm sure you guys have come across the stories of like the people not delivering breakfast in the hotel or whatever. And so she'll kind of store them up, and then the next morning she'll get up and she'll do a bunch of focus wheels, and the idea is that she'll put in what she would like to believe and then work her way toward it. Okay? So that's 2 focus wheels, right? The first one, the visualization with the vision boards, and the second, the focus wheel. And here's the third one, and this one I came up with. I call it the 3-point turn, and it's an ongoing in your day practice that you can do at any time really quickly. Again, like Steve, when he has sort of stopped using the vision boards and now just visualizes easily, that he practiced that skill. If you practice this skill, you'll get better and better and better and better at it. And so it goes like this. The first of the 3 points is, I notice that whatever is happening. And then the second is what I would prefer. And then the third piece is, wouldn't it be nice, or wouldn't it be cool, or whatever. And so it goes like this. Let's say you go and you check your bank balance and it's lower than you thought it was going to be. Okay? So you'll have a whole like string of thoughts like suddenly pop up, like, oh my God, why is it low? What's going to happen? And it can very quickly spiral into a bad place. So then you'll catch it and you'll go, whoa, okay. I notice that I'm having fearful thoughts about money and that my brain is spinning out on this story of how everything's going to hell in a handbasket, something like that. So you just notice, just acknowledge. And the acknowledging piece is very, very, very important. Abraham talks about, like, if your gas gauge is on 0, you're not going to take a smiley face sticker and stick it over the gas gauge and go, everything's fine. No, you want to know the gas gauge is pointing to 0. So you want to notice that you're having poverty-based thoughts, or you're having fear-based thoughts, if it's your health, or if it's, a boss, or someone's mean to you, and maybe you go like, maybe it's like, I notice I'm having the belief that people are really mean. Doesn't matter what it is, okay? Then you say what I would prefer, and you simply state your preference. And this is just the truth. What I would prefer is this. And what I would prefer is to feel like, in the first thing with the bank balance, that even though the bank balance is low, I'm not really worried about it because more is coming and it's just today and everything's fine. Or what I would prefer is to feel like my health is great and everything's going fine with my health. Or what I would prefer is to believe that people are basically nice and this was just an anomaly of this person in a bad mood, and I'm not going to encounter them again. So just state what you would prefer. Now that's not very compelling to your feeling self, but it is a statement of direction. And then the third part is the wouldn't it be nice if. And that's when you start telling the story, sort of like what Steve did with the whoopie pies, right? You start telling the story in more detail. So with the first example, it might go like, okay, I noticed that there isn't money in my bank account and I'm freaking out. What I would prefer is to feel total trust that everything's going to come out the way it needs to, and that source is going to supply me and money will be there when I need it. Wouldn't it be nice if, like, when I wake up tomorrow, or no, wouldn't it be nice if in this moment I start to feel better and better and better? And wouldn't it be nice if this better feeling thought literally leads to me vibrating in such a way that what I need starts coming to me? Wouldn't it be nice if I developed such faith in source energy that I started trusting this completely? And wouldn't it be nice if a sudden influx of money came? Like, that would be awesome. Wouldn't it be nice if you're just making it up? And what you're doing here is you're feeling your way forward. You're feeling your way forward towards soothing. And then as you find yourself soothed, then you can just drop it and go on. And so this is a really easy process to do in the course of the day. It must happen 1,000 times a day that something could come up that could either tip you in the direction of frustration or just be something you ignore and feel fine about. And so in the moments it tips you in the direction of frustration, you do a little quick course correction. And Abraham also describes this as forking. Like we're like, oh shoot, I noticed this, well hold on, but it could go better because, oh, but it overdid before because, but you know, life is different and I have more tools now. And so they describe it as forking. And so, so that's the 3-point turn. It goes, I notice that what I would prefer is, wouldn't it be nice if? So this is usually, I notice that I'm thinking or feeling or I believe. This is usually about a mental event, right? I notice that I'm thinking. What I would prefer is to think or believe or feel, and wouldn't it be nice if? It could also be a physical reality too. So those are the 3 things. I don't know if you guys have any questions or thoughts about this. There's the thing where you can raise your hand, or actually I'm just going to unmute you and you can jump in with any thoughts or questions about these. What do you think? So it could be no thoughts or questions, which is fine, or it could be that you're thinking. I'm not in a hurry. If you want to, just jump in or press the raise hand button, which is at the bottom of the screen somewhere. So again, I'm gonna put this I'll put links to all these 3 things so we can practice it. But all of this is about practicing alignment, and the whole point of it is happiness. That's really it. Everything we want because we're going to feel better. Everything we want because we think we'd enjoy it. We don't want anything we don't think we'd enjoy. So what we're really after is the enjoyment of it. And so if we are using affirmations as a way to counter bad feelings, it's not going to work. We must find our way to enjoyment. We must find our way to belief. And as Ramona mentioned earlier, sometimes there's that gap between what you think and what you believe, and you have to navigate the gap. And are you going to be perfect at it? No, but you can get better and better and better by practicing simply turning in the direction of what you want, turning in the direction of bliss, training yourself to talk about what you do want rather than what you don't want. All right, that's everything today. And like I said, I'll post some links, and thank you guys for joining us so much. And
Thank you, Mary.
love you lots.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.